ever wondered about the essence of who you really are? Do you believe in a permanent self that exists, unchanging through every moment of life? The truth about our identity and the nature of existence may be far different from what we typically assume. Imagine this. What if the self you think you are is nothing but an illusion, an idea crafted by your thoughts, feelings, and experiences, constantly shifting and evolving? In this exploration, we will dive deep into the heart of Buddhist teachings, challenging the very foundation of what we believe to be you and me. By understanding the illusion of the self and the nature of rebirth, we will uncover a pathway to freedom and inner peace. Prepare yourself for an awakening that will change the way you perceive yourself, your life, and even your death. Let's embark on this transformative journey together. The illusion of the self. In the Buddhist perspective, a critical question is posed. Who is the you that goes after death? This question isn't just a riddle, it's central to understanding the Buddhist teachings on life, death, and consciousness. At first glance, we might assume that there is a fixed self, an unchanging core within us, much like a passenger inside a car directing its movements. In this view, we believe that when the body ceases to exist, our true self, the essence of who we are, continues its journey. This assumption of a permanent, separate self is deeply ingrained in human experience. The concept of an unchanging self is so central to our understanding of identity that even the most influential thinkers, such as René Descartes, have explored it. Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am," suggesting that our thinking mind, our conscious awareness, is the core of who we truly are, separate from the body and the material world. This viewpoint has shaped much of Western philosophy and the way we understand ourselves. However, Buddhism challenges this notion by encouraging us to look inward and observe without judgment or bias. When we do this, we realize that what we experience as self is not a solid, permanent entity, but rather a dynamic, ever-changing process. We experience thoughts, emotions, and sensations that come and go, none of which last long enough to be called self. The Buddha emphasized this in the Anattiti a letter 1E47 Sutta, where he identified the 5 aggregates, body, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, as impermanent and beyond our control. These aggregates constantly change, shifting from moment to moment, much like waves in the ocean. To further illustrate this, imagine the famous scientific figure Albert Einstein, who, despite his profound understanding of physics, once remarked, "The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." Even a mind like Einstein's, known for its grasp of complex and abstract ideas, acknowledged that the very concept of time and self could be an illusion. In the same way, the Buddha taught that the self, as we think of it, fixed, unchanging, and permanent, does not exist. Instead, what we call the self is simply a temporary aggregation of thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations. So if everything within us is impermanent, can we still refer to it as a permanent self? This realization is the foundation of Buddhist teachings. The process of life and death is not about a soul moving from one place to another, but about the continuous flow of consciousness that changes and evolves, driven by our actions and intentions. Understanding the nature of rebirth, the flow, not a fixed self. Once we accept that there is no permanent self, we may find ourselves questioning, then what happens after death? The Buddha's teachings offer a solution. Death is not an end, but a continuation of the flow of consciousness. This perspective is radically different from many traditional Western views of the afterlife, where death is often seen as the ultimate cessation of existence. Instead, Buddhism teaches that death is merely a transition, a change in the nature of our being from one moment to the next. To understand this more deeply, the Buddha used the analogy of a flame passed from one candle to another. In this analogy, there is no solid substance. The flame from the first candle does not move as a fixed entity. It simply continues to burn in the second candle, but it is not the same flame as before. In the same way, at death, it is not a soul that continues, but the force of habits and karmic momentum, the accumulated result of our actions and intentions. This process is not mystical but lawful. The Buddha did not teach the existence of a hidden substance that moves from life to life, but rather he emphasized that it is our actions, intentions, and mental tendencies that shape the course of what happens after death. This is where the idea of karma comes into play. Karma is not a supernatural force that dictates our fate, but a natural law that governs the direction of our lives. Just as a flame moves from one candle to another, the stream of consciousness continues, shaped by the karmic tendencies we have cultivated throughout our lives. Consider the example of a public figure like Nelson Mandela, whose actions over the course of his life were driven by intention and moral resolve. He made choices based on compassion, justice, and an unwavering commitment to freedom. His actions and the karma he generated through them shaped his path in profound ways. Similarly, our daily actions, driven by intention, shape the direction of our consciousness, both in this life and the next. Karma, the compass of consciousness. The concept of karma, often misunderstood as a system of cosmic rewards and punishments, is actually the central force that shapes the direction of our consciousness. Karma, as explained by the Buddha, is not about reward or punishment, but about intention, the mental impulse that occurs before any action. In other words, karma is the intention behind our actions, the mental energy that drives our words, deeds, and thoughts. Take, for example, the actions of Mahatma Gandhi. His intention was to free India from British rule through nonviolent resistance. His karma, shaped by his steadfast commitment to truth and nonviolence, not only influenced the course of Indian history, but also shaped his own mental inclinations, cultivating peace and clarity within him. Karma is not about a judge keeping score, but about the intentions that guide our choices. Each action, each intention contributes to the direction our consciousness takes. In everyday life, we can observe how our intentions shape our actions. When we act with kindness, patience, or generosity, we reinforce those qualities within ourselves. Over time, these tendencies become habitual, guiding our responses to the world around us. Conversely, when we act out of frustration, greed, or anger, we reinforce those negative tendencies, making them more automatic. Let's take a moment to reflect on a personal experience. Imagine you are driving and another driver cuts you off in traffic. You have two options. The first option is to take a deep breath, pause, and respond with kindness, thinking, "May this person be safe." The second option is to react with anger, clenching your jaw and wishing them harm. The event is the same, the driver cutting you off, but your intention shapes how you feel and respond. In the first scenario, your intention is rooted in kindness, which leads to a sense of peace. In the second, your reaction is rooted in anger, which fosters tension and conflict. Each of these moments, no matter how small, sets a direction for the mind. Over time, these repeated actions and intentions form strong mental inclinations, like water flowing down a path. Our mental compass becomes more and more aligned with the tendencies we cultivate through repetition. The more we act with kindness, patience, and generosity, the easier it becomes to respond in those ways. The more we act with frustration, greed, and anger, the more automatic those responses become. The law of karma, not fate, but choice. It's important to note that karma is not fate. The Buddha was very clear on this point. Karma is not a law of punishment, nor is it about a fixed destiny. Karma simply shows us the direction we are moving in. While our past actions and intentions shape the flow of our consciousness, we are not doomed to follow a predetermined path. We always have the power to choose. For example, the renowned philosopher Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, found that even in the most extreme conditions, he could choose how to respond. Despite the horrors he endured, Frankl's intention to find meaning in suffering shaped his actions and ultimately his outlook on life. His karma, rooted in a deep intention to find meaning and purpose, allowed him to transcend his circumstances. Karma is not a law of punishment or reward, but a mirror that reflects our intentions. It shows us the direction we are moving in and gives us the power to choose differently. Just as we can choose to respond to a situation with patience instead of anger, we can also choose to cultivate positive mental tendencies, such as compassion, clarity, and peace. The The more we consciously choose to act in alignment with these qualities, the more they shape our lives and our path forward. The Buddha's teachings on karma, therefore, are not meant to make us passive recipients of fate, but to empower us to take control of our minds and actions. By understanding karma as the force that shapes our lives, we can choose to live more consciously, aligning our intentions with the qualities we wish to cultivate. In Buddhism, death is not the end of the self, but a continuation of the flow of consciousness. The self is an illusion, a temporary aggregation of thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. What continues after death is not a soul, but the force of karma, the accumulated momentum of our actions, intentions, and mental tendencies. By understanding karma and the impermanence of the self, we gain insight into the nature of rebirth. Rebirth is not about a soul moving from one body to another, but about the arising of a new stream of experience based on the last moment of consciousness. The Buddha's teachings guide us to understand that the direction of this stream is shaped by our intentions, and that by cultivating positive mental qualities, we can shape our future and transcend the cycle of birth and death. Karma is not fate, it is a mirror, reflecting our intentions and showing us the direction in which we are headed. By practicing mindfulness, compassion, and ethical conduct, we can begin to transform our minds and break free from the cycle of suffering. Through this understanding, we can live more consciously and intentionally, cultivating peace and clarity in every moment. The realms of rebirth, the mental landscape. In Buddhism, the concept of realms of rebirth is deeply intertwined with the idea of consciousness and the quality of the mind. These realms are not physical places one travels to after death, but rather they are states of existence that arise from the nature of our mental states. This understanding challenges many conventional ideas about life after death, as Buddhism offers a mental and psychological framework instead of a physical one. It is a view that emphasizes how our actions, thoughts, and intentions create the reality of our experience, both in this life and in future rebirths. Buddhist cosmology presents 6 realms of existence, which can be broadly categorized into higher and lower states. The lower realms represent the unwholesome mental states, while the higher realms are indicative of virtuous qualities. These realms are not fixed or permanent, and their nature depends largely on one's mental conditioning. The lower realms, representing unwholesome mental states. The lower realms of existence are often described in traditional Buddhist texts as literal hells or suffering realms. However, these are not necessarily physical places, but are instead ways to understand the types of suffering that arise from negative mental states. These realms can be observed in our everyday lives when we experience states of mind such as hatred, craving, and ignorance. The hell realm, in particular, is associated with intense suffering caused by overwhelming hatred. The suffering in this realm is not merely physical pain, but the mental anguish that arises from anger and hatred. Imagine a leader like Adolf Hitler, who fueled hate, resentment, and division across nations. His actions and the mental states that led to them were a manifestation of the hell realm in this life, where cruelty and violence become habitual, deeply entrenched in one's mind, and wreak havoc on both the individual and the society around them. The hungry ghost realm represents a mind consumed by craving and insatiable desire. Those in this realm are driven by desires they can never fulfill, much like the famous example of the businessman whose thirst for wealth never ceases. The hunger is symbolic of the emptiness felt when desires cannot be satisfied, whether it's wealth, power, or approval. Despite gaining more, the craving persists, and the person remains spiritually starved. This is similar to the life of many celebrities, like certain tech moguls, whose drive for success leaves them empty inside. The craving they experience while leading to material success leads to internal unrest and dissatisfaction, which are symptoms of this hungry ghost condition. The animal realm represents states of fear, ignorance, and primal instincts. This is not just about the literal world of animals, but it also represents our own tendencies to act out of fear and a lack of understanding. It's an existence driven purely by survival instincts, without the capacity to reflect or understand the deeper aspects of life. An example can be drawn from many parts of the world where people live in fear and ignorance, unable to transcend their circumstances or change their conditions due to lack of awareness or opportunity. Leaders who manipulate others through fear or ignorance, such as authoritarian figures, can be said to embody aspects of the animal realm, where survival and power become the guiding principles rather than compassion or wisdom. The higher realms, representing positive mental qualities. In contrast, the higher realms represent more wholesome, virtuous mental states. These realms correspond to mental states of peace, clarity, and higher wisdom. The heaven realm is a state of joy and ease born from a life of generosity and ethical conduct. However, this realm is not permanent and is often seen as a temporary state of happiness. Even those in heaven, as described in the Buddhist worldview, experience the impermanence of their bliss, and this joy may eventually give way to complacency or boredom. Think of someone like Steve Jobs, who, despite his immense wealth and success, reportedly struggled with his personal happiness. His achievements might suggest a life of fulfillment, but the Buddha would likely see his pursuit of success as an incomplete path to lasting peace. The human realm, however, holds a unique significance in Buddhism. While it includes both pleasure and pain, it is considered the most fertile ground for spiritual awakening. Unlike the heavenly realms, where joy can lead to complacency, or the hellish realms, where suffering can lead to despair, the human realm provides the balance necessary for reflection, growth, and the cultivation of wisdom. It's in this realm that beings like the Dalai Lama, Mahatma Gandhi, and others have experienced the conditions that foster spiritual growth, where they have the potential to reflect on their actions, challenge their desires, and transcend their mental limitations. Buddhism teaches that the human realm is fragile but fertile, offering the best opportunity for awakening. This realm is the only one that allows for the possibility of breaking free from the cycle of samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. The Buddha himself exemplified this in his life, where he transcended his royal existence and chose a path of renunciation, meditation, and insight. His realization in the human realm led to his enlightenment, showing us that it is within the human experience that we can achieve liberation. Impermanence and the ultimate goal, transcending samsara. Despite these higher realms offering better conditions for spiritual growth, all realms, whether lower or higher, are still impermanent. Buddhism's ultimate goal is not to escape to a higher realm, but to transcend the entire cycle of samsara altogether by realizing nibbana, which is often described as a state of unconditioned peace and freedom from all attachments. This notion of transcending the cycle of rebirth is one of the key elements that sets Buddhism apart from many other spiritual traditions. In contrast to the idea of ascending to a permanent heaven or descending into hell, the Buddhist path focuses on breaking free from all realms of existence, which are themselves based on desire, fear, and ignorance. Nibbana is not a place, it is a state of being. It is the realization of the cessation of suffering, the end of craving, and the ultimate freedom from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. This idea echoes the wisdom of leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., who spoke of transcending the material and ephemeral by focusing on justice, equality, and peace. Their work aimed not at temporary rewards, but at a deeper, universal transformation. Death and rebirth, the final moment of consciousness. Buddhism teaches that consciousness does not end at death. Instead, the transition from life to death involves a mental process that unfolds in stages. The body dissolves, but the mind remains active during this transition. The Buddha explained that the final moment of consciousness plays a crucial role in determining the next rebirth. This final thought, shaped by the mental tendencies and actions of one's life, carries the potential to influence the realm of rebirth. This transition is not random, it is conditioned by karma. Each thought and action in life sets the course for the next stage of consciousness. For example, someone who spends their life cultivating compassion and kindness may have a peaceful and loving thought at the time of death, which influences their next experience, guiding them toward a higher realm of existence. On the other hand, someone who has lived a life of hatred and anger may experience a different mental state, which could lead them to a lower realm. The idea of rebirth as a continuation rather than a movement is illustrated by the Buddha's analogy of a flame lighting another candle. There is no transfer of substance, but the flame continues to burn. Similarly, when a person dies, there is no soul that moves from one body to another. Instead, the stream of consciousness continues, shaped by the karmic tendencies accumulated during the person's life. This analogy helps us understand that rebirth is not about a soul moving from one existence to another, but about the continuation of a process, like a stream of water flowing from one moment to the next, shaped by past actions and intentions. This emphasizes the importance of every action and intention in shaping our future experience. Each moment of intention is like a drop of water that shapes the flow of the stream of consciousness. Over time, these moments accumulate, directing the course of our mental life, both in this life and the next. The path to liberation, the Noble Eightfold Path. Buddhism offers a clear and practical path to end the cycle of rebirth and suffering. This path is known as the Noble Eightfold Path. It is a comprehensive guide to living a life that transforms the mind and liberates it from the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. The Eightfold Path is divided into three core areas: ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. 1. Right understanding. This is the foundation of the path, understanding the nature of reality and the impermanent nature of existence. It involves understanding the Four Noble Truths and the law of karma. 2. Right intention. Developing intentions rooted in compassion, love, and non-harm. This helps to shape the mind's direction toward wholesome actions. 3. Right speech, speaking truthfully, kindly, and with integrity. This helps to cultivate harmonious relationships and supports mental clarity. 4. Right action, acting in a way that is ethically sound, promoting peace and harmony in the world around us. 5. Right livelihood, choosing a profession that is morally sound and supports the welfare of others. 6. Right effort, making a consistent effort to cultivate wholesome mental states and eliminate unwholesome ones. 7. Right mindfulness, developing awareness of the present moment, observing thoughts, feelings, and sensations without attachment. 8. Right concentration, cultivating deep concentration and meditation to achieve clarity and insight into the nature of the mind. By following the Noble Eightfold Path, we gradually purify the mind and reduce the power of negative karmic tendencies. This is not about escaping life, but transforming our relationship to it. The more we cultivate right intentions and actions, the closer we come to realizing Nibbana, the ultimate peace that transcends both life and death. This path is not abstract philosophy. It is practical and actionable. It offers a step-by-step guide to transforming our lives and breaking free from the cycle of suffering. By practicing right understanding, right intention, right action, and the other elements of the Eightfold Path, we can purify our minds and transcend the limitations of samsara, reaching a state of unconditioned peace. In Buddhism, death is not the end of the self, but a continuation of the flow of consciousness. The self is an illusion, a temporary aggregation of thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. What continues after death is not a soul, but the force of karma, the momentum of our actions, intentions, and mental tendencies. Through understanding karma and the impermanence of the self, we gain insight into the true nature of rebirth. Rebirth is not about a soul moving from one body to another, but about the arising of a new stream of experience, shaped by the last moment of consciousness. The Buddha's teachings guide us to understand that the direction of this stream is shaped by our intentions. By cultivating positive mental qualities, we can shape our future and transcend the cycle of birth and death. Karma is not fate. It is a mirror reflecting our intentions and showing us the direction we are headed. By practicing mindfulness, compassion, and ethical conduct, we can transform our minds and break free from the cycle of suffering. Through this understanding, we can live more consciously, intentionally, and peacefully in every moment of our lives.